Guys, it's Amy Nicholas. Welcome to my birthday bash. Okay, so July 24th. Yeah, this is it. Great day, great day. I actually told my trading tribe in Telegram, which, by the way, if anybody's here watching from the tribe, if you can do me a favor and put a link in the comments, because I'm on my phone. It's not easy to do a link while I'm live. But link to the tribe is in all my videos. And I told everybody, I was like, I'm not going to trade today on my birthday. I follow Ross Cameron, and he's like superstitious about trading on your birthday. And I'm like, maybe it is my day off anyways for Thursdays. So I didn't day trade per se, but I wanted to try something. This has been on my mind to just have some sort of other strategy that I can do after the bell, right? So I've been trading pre-market, but it's been kind of wonky lately. And so I was kind of like looking for some ideas of trading after the bell. So I went on ChatGPT, so beautiful AI, right? And I just asked it to find me like 10 stocks today. Hey, Trong, 10 stocks today that look like they were potential intraday movers where maybe I could buy at a dip and then hold it, close to the close today. And that's very unlike my normal style. I'm usually like in and out scalp momentum trades. So ChatGPT found me some stocks, and I decided I was going to trade it out of my Robinhood account, and I only had like $165 in cash in that account. So I was like, well, I'm just going to trade one share. I'm going to pick one of these stocks, and it's got to be under, like, I was looking for something under $100, and I ended up picking Toast, T-O-S-T. And I asked chat for some levels. I looked at the chart and I'm like, okay, I could see maybe a dip entry here. And I think I got in at like 47.90. And it immediately went up. And I was like, oh, cool. Went up like 10 cents. And I was kind of hoping for like a little bit of a 20, 30 cent move. So I had a take profit order set, and it never hit it. And then it started to go the other way. And I was like, well, I'm only in it for one share. So I think I let it trade against me till about, it was like almost 50 cents against me. And I was like, well, thankfully I only got one share into this Toast, stock. And I said, okay, well, my bottom dollar is like 47.35 and I'm out of here. So it actually turned around and it went back up. And then the last hour, power hour, it started to go into profit. So I'm like, all right, cool. Like, let's just cash it out. So I made a whole 26 cents on my one share today of Toast, which, yay. I think I'm just going to play with that Robinhood account. Just kind of like a make trading fun, try something new, keep the, capital small in there, so I'm not doing anything silly. But yeah, lately been using TradeStation. Talked about this on my last couple videos. You guys can see the Tesla action here. Hey, Isla? I'm just gonna call you Isla. Thank you, Lucy. Yeah, I love my hair too. It is fun, and it is me. But yeah, TradeStation's been working really well. A lot of people, I feel like people are having issues across the board with different platforms, but most notably Thinkorswim. And then I know some people are having issues with IBKR, I think is Interactive Brokers, maybe. But TradeStation, the reason I took the time, and it took me a full day to set up TradeStation, but I switched from Thinkorswim because I was sick of getting stuck in trades and the sell orders just weren't going through. I'm like, what the heck, So that was like, you're done. Goodbye, Thinkorswim. And hello, beautiful TradeStation. I really like the layout. One of the things that irks me is trying to fix the font sizes. It's like every little window has its own size. And then for some reason, when you actually have an open position here, the P&L is like crazy small. It's really hard to read. I've tried to increase the monitor size. That's really the only thing that's helped. Robert says Fidelity has a good trading app. That's funny you say that, because I think the exact opposite of Fidelity. I have multiple accounts there, including my retirement accounts, and I feel like their app is so antiquated. Maybe I'm using the wrong version, because I have downloaded their Active Trader Pro beta on my desktop, which is pretty useful. I do like that a lot better than their old setup. And you can actually add level 2, although it's kind of slow. So I don't know. Fidelity, I feel like they're kind of this giant institution and they're like way behind the times sometimes. Thank you, Juju, for the birthday wishes. Yeah, I was like, oh, maybe I have something fun to wear, like birthday. I don't have like anything, party hats or nothing. So I pulled out my chain here from the Las Vegas Knights game I went to, and they were handing these out. So that's my jewelry. Hey, Alan, Fidelity is no good. Yeah. Robert used the older app. Now, you're talking about the app on the phone, because I don't know if it's just iPhone, but on my version of Fidelity, when I go to my positions tab, everything is all janky. Like, it'll, like, say I have Meta, Amazon, Tesla. The line where you see the ticker symbol and you look over to what your position size is or how many shares or what, your value is, it's like off. So I'm like constantly having to like tap and like, oh, is that right? No, that's not. Like, I don't know if it's just iPhone or what, but that's one of the things that Fidelity, like, it bothers me a lot, because a lot of times I'm buying on my phone because I'm just, seeing stuff move. I've got alerts set up on Yahoo Finance. So when I hear sometimes the alerts go off, I'm like, ooh, Fidelity, okay, buy some of this, sell that. I actively manage my IRA. Trader Pro on PC, not Apple. Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, I have just the Windows as well, and the new beta is pretty good, although it crashes sometimes. So that's kind of weird. I'll be in the middle of just like looking at something and everything will just be like, whoop, and just close itself out. Hey, Valeri. Frank says iPhone no good either. Yeah, I don't know. It's annoying. Thank you, Eric, for the happy birthday. Hey, Radoslav. Yeah, you tell us what language that is. So I was like, I'm not going to try to murder the name. I don't know. Is it a girl name, boy name? It's like, I'm not even going to try. Just going to say hello. But yeah, welcome everybody. Thanks for tuning in. I wanted to share some stuff today, aside from, I said not talking trades, which I did trade, but whatever. Yeah, thanks, Radoslav. I did get recently engaged. Thank you. Juju, I mentioned at the beginning, I didn't technically like day trade like I normally do. I went and placed an intraday trade, which meant Amy held it for more than 30 seconds. And I held Toast, T-O-S-T, because ChatGPT told me it had the potential to go up today, which it did. It was a scary moment where it went down and then it went back up and then I got a profit. But I only traded one share. So that was my trade in Robinhood. But I kind of wanted to just show you guys real quick some of the stuff I've been working on while I've been in, incognito, absent for a bit. Sears Hardcore Personal Development Study. Brian Tracy is one of my absolute favorite books, guys, audios to go to. Change your thinking, change your life. There's so much in this book. Like, I'm gonna have to share with you guys some of the nuggets. And then the other one I picked up recently, which this book already made me money, because it was for this book was the entire reason I went and took this little tiny trade on Toast today. The New Market Wizards, Jack Schwager, author of Market Wizards. There was a interview with a guy named William Eckhart in here, and he talked about mechanical trading and how he actually uses systems to trade. Like, he's not emotions driven at all, and he only trades by systems. And I thought, let me ask Chat, just to be mechanical for me, so I'm not the one trying to make decisions. And that's how I ended up getting into that Toast trade, which ended up working out. So I'm like, okay, we're gonna try this again tomorrow, and maybe we'll buy 2 shares of something in my Robinhood. Yeah, thank you, Juju. I did get engaged, kept it on the down low. Thank you, Alan. Quite the engagement ring. Yeah, gonna build your biceps. I know, right? Ugh. Yeah, I do go to the gym a lot though. That is credit to me as well. But yeah, let me just pull out. Oh, now I also got Millionaire Traders, which you guys can't even see. I haven't started reading this one, Millionaire Traders: How Everyday People Are Beating Wall Street at Its Own Game. This is written by 2 people, Kathy Lean and Boris Schlossberg. So Another one that sounded interesting and is a lot more current than the Market Wizards books. But, change your thinking, change your life. So much of what we deal with as traders is up here, right? And if you can get that through your head that, okay, let's just say, and I feel like I'm exaggerating. Let's say that trading is 10% skill. I really think it's like 5. But let's say it's 10% skill. Like you learn a strategy, you learn how to read charts, you learn how to read level 2, you learn the system, the platform, how to actually, enter, exit, stop loss, all that good stuff, right? That seems like a lot, but when you do actually start to apply, use it, in my opinion, I think that the other 95% of whether you're successful or not comes down to your mindset. Like if you start your day and you're like thinking about yesterday's bull crap, last week's bull crap, a month ago, and you just start like this rampage, right? It's like you're not even starting the day in a good place. So it's like you're actually digging yourself a hole before you even got into one financially. So one of the things I've been testing out, and thanks to Brian Tracy for just good reminders in that book, he talks about like visualization, affirmations, 2 very powerful things that I think really can make the difference in your trading. And by that, I mean, I say affirmations, and I not only mean like actual, like, I am rich, I am wealthy, whatever, but the way you speak about your trading. And I mentioned this on 2 videos ago, I think, that I was no longer going to consider myself a struggling trader, a beginner trader, or any of those things, because it enforces the idea that I'm not where I want to be, and I think you really have to phrase things in advance of where you want to be, right? Yeah, Valerie, our mindsets definitely set the stage and tone for the rest of the day, especially in trading. It really does. I mean, think of like all the jobs you could do in the world. Does it not feel sometimes that trading is, and I've heard Ross Cameron say this, trading is the easiest, hardest job there is because it's so up here. And I think, most jobs you kind of get to a level of skill and then it starts to feel a little bit easier. But I think trading, it's always like, you're always going to have these things going on in your head. You're always working on your mindset. Robert says, have you read Mark Minervini and Stan Weinstein? Yes. And yes, I have both of their books. Trade Like a Champion, I think, Mark Minervini, and then Stan's How to Profit in Bull or Bear Markets. Very good book. What's up, Sarav? Coming back, don't trade when you're not clear mind. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and Jim Rohn. Yeah, thank you, Robert. Jim Rohn, classic personal development. If you go on YouTube, there's some of his speeches from the 70s, the 80s, and he was a funny guy. Like he was talking about personal development, self-improvement, but he was also actually a funny dude. So check him out. He was the mentor to Tony Robbins, by the way. There was something I was just reading in here too. So I've read this book multiple times, by the way. But there was, this is just kind of a cool thing. He talked about W. Clement Stone, who at one point was the richest man in the world, okay? Big founder of this insurance agency. He was a mentor to Jack Canfield, if anybody knows Chicken Soup for the Soul. But this guy, he had this idea that instead of being a paranoid, where people think, oh, everybody's against me, the universe is against me, my job, my boss, my family, everybody's out to get me, right? He considered himself to be an inverse paranoid, where he said, everybody is actually helping me to become successful. And it sounds like this really odd concept, but if you take that thought and you turn it into a belief, for even, like, I dare you, just do it for like a week. Even though it feels like a lot of times it could be a complete lie, and you see things happen, you're like, why did that happen? But just try it, just try that idea of everything is actually working in my favor. People are actually helping me to become successful. All these events, though they seem like really annoying, frustrating things, they're all working to make me successful. You know, and I dare you to try it for a week. Like, I'm willing to do it. I've always believed in working on your mindset to just become stronger up there, because you get what you expect. If you expect things to not work out for you, if you expect to lose, if you expect to have red trades, if you expect to, you know, just be struggling for many months, many years, I think there's a little bit of, I'm not saying it doesn't take time and skill to become a profitable, successful trader, whatever that means. I am saying that I do think there are too many people perpetuating this idea that, well, you gotta take a long time. Look at some of these people who had their mindset right, who maybe came from other careers, maybe came from other jobs. Oh, thank you, Kasey. Appreciate the birthday gift there. Who came from these other walks of life, and they had a good mindset when they came into trading, and they said, you know, I'm in it to win it. I'm here to have fun. And they just kill it. You know, you may not hear a lot of these stories, but they're out there. People who 6 months, a year, shoot, even, I mean, this is possible in a couple months. Like, it's all about up here. That people just come out the gate almost winning because they changed their mindset, right? And they came into trading with the right mindset. And I thought I did, you know, for a while, and I had some profitable months, and then I started to go the other way, and I started beating myself up, and I started like looking at all the things I was doing wrong, and I'm like, okay, if I keep that cycle up, guess what? I'm going to continue to do wrong things. I'm going to continue focusing on all the things I shouldn't do, instead of looking at like, well, why was that a winning trade? Why did I make profit here? And, you know, how can I have the belief, even just pretending, that I walked away making $100 today? You know, just little scenarios in your mind. You come at things a little bit different way. Watch what happens. Seriously. Alan says, work on your mindset, work on your discipline. You will be a successful trader. Actually, you'll be successful at everything if you apply those two concepts. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And, you know, I think discipline is like, there's discipline and there's habits, okay? In the beginning, when you are disciplined, it feels like work, right? Like going to the gym, okay? When you start going to the gym, you haven't gone to the gym for like years, it's going to be disciplined because it's gonna feel like work. You gotta start a new habit. And some people will say 2 weeks, 3 weeks habits. Personally, I think it takes like 2 months to really solidify habits. That's why getting up early is hard. Anybody, it's like, you know, on this page with me where you're on the West Coast and you got this pre-market trading time of 4 a.m. to 4 a.m. to 6:30. It's tough, right? You really got to build that into a habit. And discipline only gets you so far, because at some point it has to become a habit, because you can't put all your effort and energy into just being disciplined, right? Once it becomes a habit, then it almost feels easy. Like, I never even think for a moment, like, it's hard to go to the gym. Not for a moment. I've been working out since I was 18, like, religiously. And I never, you know, after I developed the habit, it never felt hard. I think there's certain things that you'll do where the habit takes longer to build. And I also think it takes longer when you are trying to build a habit, you're trying to be disciplined, but you fall back and you fall back and you fall back. Then it seems like it's really challenging and you're like, oh, I have to be super disciplined, because you're not consistent. So if you can be consistent and have a habit, it's a heck of a lot easier, right? Yeah, Robert says, mindset is everything. Small losses in trading are okay. It's unacceptable to have huge losses, but say trading is a hard beast to master. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Like, Henry Ford, you know, richest guy for a very long time in the world, he said something that was very interesting. It was, whether you think you're right or think you're wrong, either way, you're correct. So whether you think trading is hard or trading is easy, either way, you're correct. Because what's going to happen, and I'm not negating that trading isn't difficult, challenging, But what'll happen if you reinforce that belief too much, you're going to continue, or I should say your brain, your subconscious, is going to continue to find ways to make it hard. So there comes a point where I learned this through like my personal development studies, that if I had the idea, the belief before I actually believed it, it was gonna actually change my circumstances. By that, for example, when I wanted to quit my job, 2015, so I've been an entrepreneur for 10 years. 2015, the last couple of months before I actually quit, I remember thinking that it was feeling very hard to make this online stuff work in order to make enough money to actually make more than what I was making at the job, where I felt like, I had a little bit of a cushion and I was doing better. And I thought, if I keep thinking that, it's going to keep feeling hard. So I just sort of shifted my mind to like, well, what would it be like now that I'm an entrepreneur? And it kind of took the stress off of like what I had to do in that moment to work on this online stuff. And it put me into this other place where I could feel what it was like. And I still kept continuing to put, time, effort, money into my online business. But at that point, things really started to change, because I remember like even just thinking about my schedule. Like I literally wrote out a schedule. Now that I'm an entrepreneur, what does my day look like? I wrote like wake up, 5 a.m., walk the dogs, do this, go to the gym, work on the business, block a time, doing yada. They wrote everything out. And when I would go like walk my dogs, because I had to go to work at like 8, I think, it was 8 a.m. So I'd walk them like 7:15, 7:30 every morning. And I remember thinking, okay, let's just pretend it's like 10 a.m. because that's really when I want to feel like doing this. And I just kind of lived in that field of like, what is it like? And so as a trader, I think you really have to project yourself almost into the future, but feel it in the now of, what does it feel like? I walked away today and I made $50, $100. What does it actually feel like? Even if you haven't had the experience, just thinking about it will make you feel good, right? Juju says, I'm consistent, but still losing. Yeah, and I mean, change that. Like even what you're saying, Juju, is important. I'm glad you said it that way. Say, I am learning. That is going to change actually how you feel. If you say I'm losing, that's like, oh gosh, what's wrong with me, right? Why do I keep losing? Losing sucks, But if you say I'm learning, all of a sudden your mind's like, yeah, yes, you are. You learned some things not to do today, or you learned, hey, I should have did something. Whatever it was, every trade is a learning lesson. And you can tell yourself that. It's gonna feel better, especially when you lose some money. Good night, Radislav. We'll see you later. Yeah, I mean, you really, going back to what I was saying before about affirmations, you really have to be careful what you say, because it's affecting how you think, which is affecting how you feel. So, for example, I felt like I kind of hit this, I don't want to say nosedive, nothing went horribly wrong, but I had this like drop where I was trading and I'm like, okay, I'm learning, but I don't feel like I'm making any progress. And I'm sort of in this trench, just kind of trying to figure this out. And it felt kind of demotivating. You get into the slog of it. And I thought, let's like find ways to make it fun again. Let's, really dive deep into only following one person, because I think at that time I was trying to listen to several people on YouTube. Not a lot, but more than one. And so I kind of shifted over to just following Ross. And I also at that time, kind of was like, well, maybe it's just me. Maybe it's like more up here that I need to work on. And so I kind of like did a lot more study into the mind, personal development, taking courses, going to seminars, things like that. And it really kind of takes you out of this closed-in world that you can be in, telling yourself, how bad you are as a trader. And I'm like, you know what? I'm doing okay. And I took a step back and I kind of looked at the bird's eye view of like, oh, well, what have I accomplished or how much have I actually lost since I started? And it was so minimal. I was like, wow, I've been in this, well, now I'm in my 8th month, but I think when I was looking at this, I was maybe in month 6. And I was like, actually, I'm just kind of paying like $1 or $2 a day to learn. It's like the losses were so minimal at that point. It really helped me to change and reframe how I was looking at it. And I think if you can have that bird's eye view sometimes and just say like, look how far I've come. Think about the people that got into trading and my water here. That got into trading and after 1 month were like, this sucks. It's hard. I'm leaving. You're still here, right? I think most people watching are over a month at any rate. Yeah, Juju, 100%. What you put out in the universe is what you get back. Yeah, and some people call it karma, and some people, just say it's just the energy that you're putting out there, right? Ross is the good one. It's not losing, it's tuition payments. Exactly, Janice. Yeah, and I had an aha moment about that too. Like, I had spent guys, obscene amounts on like Facebook advertising and stuff like that in my businesses. And even I remember even at times I could just throw away $100 a day and be like, well, I'm trying to promote this product and it didn't work today. Maybe it'll work tomorrow. And then come into trading and be like, I lost $10, I lost fun, and I wasn't crying, but it was just like, why is this so emotional for me? Like, I had no problem when I thought of it as a business. And I think that's really important too, is that you think of your trading as a business. And I don't mean that in a way that's like super serious and I gotta be a business person. I mean it in a way that you just think differently about what you're doing. Because all businesses, you invest, right? You put money in hopes that you are going to make a return and then, make a return where you're making more than what you're putting in. And it's always like a curve. So, yeah, good way to look at it, Valerie, learning, exactly, not just losing. Yeah, I mean, and I think back to like the thousands of dollars I spent going to college. And I'm like, had no problem being on loans and all that sort of thing. And then it's like the degree itself just kind of felt like meaningless other than to get your foot in the door to certain jobs. All they were looking for was a degree. They didn't care what it was in, It's like, okay, it paid off in that sense, but it's like all this money spent. I wish that in some sense that I had, the money that I actually paid for school and had it in a trading account, because I think I would have been in a much better place, just with investments and learning how to trade. So Robert says Ross hasn't done an update today. Yeah, I heard he had a doctor's appointment. All I know is when I got on his live stream this morning, he was already gone. And that was like 8:40-ish Eastern time. So sure, he's okay. The dude just freaking kills it every day, regardless if he's winning or losing. And here's something interesting. I asked in my tribe, Amy's Trading Tribe on Telegram. There's links on every other video except this one because it's live. I can't put a link on it yet. But I asked the group, if you could have like one skill that you woke up with tomorrow that enabled you to become excellent at trading, what do you think that skill would be? Or what would you want? And I thought about it for myself and I was like, I think just the ability to come into trades fearless, like getting in and getting out. Total fearlessness where you have almost like a robotic, mechanical way of trading. Because I see Ross trade and I've been watching him. This is my 2nd month, but I've actually been watching him probably about 6 weeks because I did the trial. And he has this ability to be completely like stoic. He's just like, and I'm like, okay, Maybe it's all like a bunch of stuff going on up here, but the way he comes across makes it seem like he is cool as a cucumber. And he's talking while he's doing it. Whereas if I tried to talk while I was like in and out of trades, I'd be like, you know, the power of speech would be gone. Eric, thank you for the update. Russ finished up $19,715.80. LiDAR, CYCC, MCRP. Nice, nice. Cool. Yeah, easy money for Ross, even though he only trades from 6:30 to 10 a.m. East Coast. Yeah, and lately Ross has been staying past the bell, but I don't see him taking a lot of trades. It's like he's just watching. Mark says trading like Ross would be great. Yeah, just wake up next day having all the abilities of Ross, you know, years of experience, all the pattern recognition. He talks about this sometimes too, that having over a decade of experience with trading, that you just subconsciously will adopt like the ability to see patterns, to see like situations where, you know, your brain kind of tries to put two and two together and it's like, oh, we saw this before and then this happened, right? He's seen it before so many times that a lot of times he's just right, like just goes in his favor. I think from watching him live, I think his really strong skill is entry. He's really good at getting in at the right time. He's also good at most of the time with his trades taking profit on the way up. Like he's adding, but he's also selling. And unfortunately, you can't quite see what he's exactly doing in those moments. I watch his P&L sometimes and his average cost per share, and that's kind of how I figure out like, okay, he's buying and he's also selling on the way up. Now I've seen him go into some trades where I'm like, dude, why are you still in this trade? It's like some of them go like $1.50 a share against him. But I will say on those trades, he already has a cushion on the day, like a big cushion. So he might take a $15,000, $10,000 hit, but it's like, you know, in comparison to his wins for the day. Kasey says, losing hurts exponentially more than winning. You'll feel minus $100 way more than plus $100. Yes. There is something biological for humans related to that, like where you feel the sense of loss more than the excitement of gain. And I guess it's something we're hardwired with, like a survival instinct, where if you're losing money, it's literally like a threat to your mind that, you know, you're at risk of death, which is crazy. Like when I talked about the fearlessness thing about what I would want for my trading, I think the ability to really separate that emotional tie, that hardwired thing that we have as humans, ability to separate that and actually see things maybe from just like a distance and realize that whether you lost $100 or even say like $500, like that is not actually going to physically hurt you. That is not going to cause death, okay? And it's not going to maim you in any way. It's all like what the brain interprets it as. And I think, you know, money is just such it's so loaded with meaning for people that they just automatically equate it to the same thing as food and air and water. You know, of course it is necessary. Of course we need it. Otherwise, you know, we probably end up on the street. But the way the brain interprets it is just so out of proportion sometimes. Like seriously, like, are you going to be physically ill, like death's door, if you lose some money? Like, I feel like sometimes that's what the brain thinks. Thank you, Lex, for the birthday wish. Experience is expensive, Mark says. Eric says, I think yesterday he hit 1 million for the month. He has a goal of 1 million each month. I'm just, wow. Yeah. Like, oh my goodness. I mean, as an entrepreneur, you come across people that have these insane months and it's very inspiring and you're like, wow. I think most people watching this, they would just really take a lot of delight in a $10,000 month. And then you think of somebody who's just thinking at a totally different level that's like, yeah, I got to make $1 million. And it's like, what's the difference there, right? Besides experience, besides, the decades of like under the belt, what is different there? He actually makes it a must. It's not like, oh, it would be nice, like, oh, that's kind of cool if I hit 1 million. Oh, if I did it again, that would be cool. No. Like, Ross is like, oh, I'm gonna hit 1 million. He's like, I'm gonna do everything I can to make sure I hit 1 million. like I seen him dig himself out of some of these trades where he's negative on the day, like super negative. I mean, compared to what I would think. And then he not only turns it around, gets back to break even or minimizes the loss, but then he continues going. And it's like, that's the mindset, right? Like that's the winner inside of him that's like, oh, you're making your million. Like, it's on. Game on. Robert says, I swing trade and go long trades, but I can't adjust to day trading. Yeah, it's not for everybody. I mean, I will say, Robert, it really helps to start with very small share size. And though I didn't start my day trading journey that way, I moved into that later on. And it really helped a lot to just kind of hone in on learning and strategy without the pressure of money involved, or at least not much. And at times where it feels like stressful, I'll reduce my share size because I'm like, I still want it to be fun. I don't want to be like, ooh, like every time I get in a trade, like, oh my gosh, what's gonna happen? So I really tried to become more and more detached from the outcome. And sometimes I just have to downsize, like today doing the Robinhood trade, that I turned it into a day trade specifically, but I held it like, I don't know, 3 or 4 hours. And it was so like much less stress because I just bought 1 share. Had I been in it for even 10 or 20 shares, it was probably been like, crap, it's going against me. Let me get out now. But because I was only in it for 1 share, I'm like, who cares? If it goes 50 cents against me, whatever, I'm going to stick it out towards the end, towards the bell. So I think it really matters with the size. Yes, Ross is very fast with scaling. Most of the time, except last week when he lost 255,000 on 1 trade. Yeah, that was the one day I didn't watch him live. I missed that. And that is insane because I thought for sure when Ross was down, or actually I would say when he was up on that stock, when he was up like 200 grand on 1 freaking stock, in my mind, I thought for sure in his recap, he was going to be like, and here's where I should have took some off the table. And here's another place I should have took some off the table. He never mentioned that. He only talked about how it suddenly went against him. But I'm thinking in my mind, what was he thinking in that moment? Like, why? Because then on so many other of his trades, he is taking profit. Why on this 1 trade, when he was up so much, I don't get why he didn't take any. And if he did, it was very little because he was down so fast, he just kept adding. Thank you, Kevin. Cool, another July baby. Thanks, Trong. Eric says 10K month. I'd be happy with 10K here right now. Yeah, I mean, everybody's got their own, number. For me right now, what just kind of feels good and feels believable is like $100 a day. And I'm not in like this hurry, like it's got to happen tomorrow or anything like that. I will say I've put a little bit more, I don't want to say pressure, but I put a little bit more like consideration into how I'm trading and the size I'm trading in order to get closer to that, and to not be too trigger happy when I'm getting into a trade sometimes, but to actually add, that's been helping, adding to a winning position. And if you caught my last video, I talked about my my little rule of the 10-second stop loss, where based on the way I trade, based on my history, based on my stats, I found that I was going to end up in a bigger loser if I held past 10 seconds. By that I mean if the trade never turned to green, if it was in the red, stayed in the red for about 10 seconds, that meant I got in at the wrong time for my strategy. And it was better to just get the heck out, So yeah, it's one of those things where I think risk management, at least in my story, that's been the focus as I took this seriously. You know, I was like, I'm going to stick with day trading. Risk management, because if you have that in place, like your foundation, right, it becomes a lot easier to know when to bail as you increase share size and as you increase your risk. If you start out with, you know, more of the let's try to take profits, let's try to grab the bag, all that sort of thing, that's okay when it works. But when you get in those trades and you're just deer in headlights and you don't have a plan, then that's when it doesn't work. So I would say, just from where I'm at right now, no blown accounts, no major losses. Like literally, guys, the biggest loss I've taken in day trading, like $31 in a day. And that one of them was I got schwabbed. I got stuck. Another one was a internet glitch. Took me that long to get into my phone app. And then one of them was just, you know, like a $15 or $20 loss because the stock just went fast. It happens, you know, but nothing crazy, right? And why is that? Because I studied and I emphasized risk management above all things. I think I just learned from the right people early on in my journey to keep me with a capital, keep me with an account. Because you hear about people all the time, like, you know, blowing accounts. And I never traded with a really small account, like $500. So I can kind of understand how people could blow those accounts, but at the same time, it's like, why were you risking it all? You know, I don't know. But I want to just emphasize it's important. Trunk says, I watched him when he lost big, then needed to consult a therapist. Yeah, see, that's good for bringing that up. Good on Ross, you know, for recognizing, even though he'd been a trader, I think this was what, Trunk, maybe like 5 years ago. If you go back on his YouTube channel, he talked about hiring somebody to help him with trading, like a therapist, consultant, whatever, mindset. And he had the guy on his show, like at some point where he interviewed him, and they talked about how he helped him get back on track. And I think that's really important. Like, I also think too, sometimes, you guys ever notice, like, when you start a new hobby or something and it's fun in the beginning, you're like, oh, it's new, it's exciting, like this is happening and I'm learning, and then you like kind of take it a little too seriously and you maybe try to make it your full-time income or you know, this is the job. And then it almost kind of loses the fun of it. And like, I'll just share with you guys right now, some of what I've experienced in the last month, 6 weeks, it's felt a little bit too much pressure, like a little bit too much, like I'm putting too much demand on this thing and it's actually making it not as fun. So sometimes I'll take a step back and just be like, okay, like I'm here to learn and observe. And I'm looking for ways to just make it fun again, you know, and that's what I did today with the 1 share trade on Robinhood and finding this random stock, thanks to AI, that I could intraday trade. That made it fun for me because it was something like different and no pressure with buying 1 share. You know, some people will go back to the sim, and I get that. I have to have real money on the line. Like it doesn't excite me at all to just practice trade. The only time I've done it was when I first set up TradeStation just to make sure I have my hotkeys working, but it just doesn't thrill me enough. I still like to have some money on the line. Juju says, for me, it's the opposite. I feel a bit too detached from the outcome. Oh, interesting. So let me ask you this, Juju, when you feel like that, what is it like when you're in the trade? Are you just kind of like, meh, you know, whatever. If it works, cool. If it doesn't. And then how does it actually play out? Because I'm curious, for me, when I've been in that detached mode, it usually works out because I'm not all like panicky and uptight about it. I'm just sort of like, whatever. Yeah, Larry. Thank you, Wayne. Happy birthday from your Canadian followers. Oh, thank you. Appreciate you. Yeah, I don't know, guys. Does any of you, do you trade detached? Because the times I've been able to get myself into that zone, I'll call it, it seems like it really takes the stress off and I feel calmer. So I actually execute better, if that makes sense. Casey, if you ain't squeezing cheeks in a trade, there's no money to be made. I think I'm making bad decisions because of it. Yeah. Okay. So Juju, that is interesting. That is really interesting. So you're at the point where you're so detached, it's like you don't even care. And if you don't care at least a little bit, it makes like the decisions kind of more difficult, or you're not putting as much thought into them, I guess. So that's really interesting because I've literally never experienced that. Because I thought it would be good to go that route and feel like, oh, I'm more detached from the trade. But I guess at some point, if you don't care enough, then you're not excited about it. And then, it's like, like for example, I do know what it likes. I do know what it feels like from a different story in my life, where one time I went to interview for a manager position. I was already working for Enterprise Rent-A-Car, and I'd been there for several years, and there was this position opened up, and it kind of felt like I should go interview for it, even though I really didn't feel like being a manager, because the stress and the anxiety and the potential loss of pay when people go and steal rental cars was not really in my wheelhouse. not to stomach that. And so I kind of just went on this interview because I felt like I should. It would just look good, in the company. And I remember being very detached. Like I was just like, just kind of answering the guy's questions and just like, And I remember just really trying to tone down any level of stress. But I guess I toned it down too much because he literally said after the interview, he's like, well, it kind of didn't even seem like you wanted the job. I was like, I didn't, but I didn't tell him that. So needless to say, didn't get the promotion, which was definitely worked in my favor because I ended up getting a way better paying job like a month later with a totally different company. So I was like, oh, glad that didn't pan out. Yeah, okay, so Juju worked so hard at detaching, then it went the opposite direction. Okay. So, just a suggestion, because this has worked for me before, not only with trading, but other things I've done in life. Take a break. Like, literally, Juju, give yourself the freedom of a week away from the charts, a week from doing any trading, no opening the platforms, no looking, no checking the group if you're in the tribe. Like just literally separate yourself and see if during that week you start to miss it. And you start to think, oh man, what's going on in the market? I wish I was trading. But keep yourself busy, do something else during that time you would normally be trading. And just, watch the kind of feelings that come up. Because I think if you really enjoy this and you really want to get really good at it, I think you'll miss it by the end of that week. Maybe not right away, but it's just a thought. Because I've done that in the past where I'm like, you know what? I feel a little burnt out. I need to step away here. I need to go do something else for a bit and just enjoy life. Just like take a vacation, go for a road trip, go out to eat, like do things that just feel easy. Sometimes I think trading is so mentally taxing and emotionally draining that we come away like looking like we've been through battle, I know it's not comparable really, but mentally it can be. So I'm just really curious. ZE says you can just size up until you feel something again. Yeah, that's a good point too. Like, let's see how far it takes, how much loss Juju has to experience before where it's like, oh crap, now I feel it. Oh, hey Mike, happy birthday. The Cancer people are watching. Oh, cool. I was born on July 1st, 1957. Really enjoy your enthusiasm. Keep up the positive energy. Thank you, Mike. My mom is Cancer, actually, July 19th, and I was supposed to be born on her birthday, but I decided to come on my own day and come out as a Leo. So, yay for Leos. What's funny is my fiance is a Leo too, so we actually get along really well for that, I think. I get along well with my mom too. I get along well with everybody. What the heck? What else is everybody's signs here? Let's talk signs. I think there's some truth to some of the personality traits about signs. If you know, I think in some cases you do align with that. In other cases, you could be those outliers where you're on like the cusp of another sign, and you're more like that one. Yeah, fiery, exactly. Well, and we're both Sicilian, Italian, right? Like, fiery is the word. Uh, Robert says, I'm a crazy Gemini. Aries the ram. Okay, yeah. I like Leos, Capricorn, and Scorpio. Ooh, Valerie, how does that work? I've heard interesting things about Scorpios, like that they get along with certain certain signs only. So I'm curious, and I'm assuming because it's your hubby that you're going along. Casey says, my favorite sign is the Krispy Kreme hot and ready. Yeah, what about them donut stock yesterday? Anybody trade donuts? I was like, I want to trade it just to say that's what I traded. I didn't end up taking it. Frank says September 23rd. Cusper? What's Cusper? Somebody help me out here. What's September 23rd? Which would be, yeah, I don't know. There's another sign that goes Leo, then there's something else in August, and there's something else in September. I'm Capricorn. My mom was Cancer, since you're talking about that. Nice. Alan is a superior Gemini. Does that mean you have a split personality, Alan? I always heard that they had like the two, like. Larry says, we get along good, but hit sometimes. Blame it on the Scorpio, right? Like that's them. Virgo Libra. Okay. Cool, Frank. So is that you and your wife, or are you on the cusp of Virgo and Libra? Oh, cool. Juju's from Italy. Abruzzi. Nice. See if I remember any Italian. I took an Italian class for a little while. I learned French in high school and college. Took a little Italian class later. Como ti chiamo? I think is, what is your name? And then mi chiami Amy. That's about what I got right now. Janice says Libra. Not sure how balanced my life is though. Is that the one that holds the scales? Is that what you mean? Yeah. I don't know about balanced life, because I think at times in your life you're neutral, which looks balanced, until you find your next thing you're going for. Like when I focus on trading, I went from like kind of figuring things out, business, yada yada, and then it was like trading, and it was like all the focus went on trading. like 10% down here to do fun things or whatever, and it was like study, learn, trade. So yeah, I don't think anybody's really got the balance. Alan says Scottish blood. Yeah, two people. Okay. Scottish. Oh, you're on the cusp. Okay, gotcha, Frank. Husni, are you trading only for income or due to a side job? So trading for me, I spend full-time effort, I should say, full-time effort for side income pay, which I wouldn't even say side income right now. I'm basically neutral to positive. It's kind of like how they talk about the market sentiment. I'm neutral to positive. So it's been a little bit of a seesaw lately, where I'll flip to profit, I'll be profitable, over a certain number of trades, and then it'll kind of like maybe one trade will just tip the scale for a minute. I'll come back, and then I'm, it's sort of this hovering thing right now. But I'm doing better. It's better than just, like winging it, which I felt like I was doing for several months before I really stuck to the momentum trading strategy that I adopted from Ross Cameron, but tweaked to make my own. Yeah, exactly. So another thing from this beautiful Change Your Thinking, Change Your Life Brian Tracy book is, he talks about if you are focused like most of the time on creating the life you really want to live, everything just flows. Everything starts to align. People show up in your life. Opportunities show up. Money shows up. certain things will happen that will lead you towards what you want. The trick is staying focused on what you actually want in your life versus what is. And by that I mean, if you look at your current circumstances and you're like, well, I hate my job, trading is hard, I don't like this person I'm living with, I don't like my family, I don't have any good friends, this is all crap. You know, if you stayed focused on all of that, that's what it is. It's actually been created by your old thinking, and you're just seeing the results of it. In order to actually go where you want to go, it requires thinking like you've never thought before, right? So, for example, if you want to be at a different level in, let's say trading, like me personally, I'm working on this like actively, like I talked about it, like not thinking of myself as struggling. I'm not trying. I'm not beginner. Like these are all phrases that I feel like have very negative connotations around them. And if I actually want to be successful and do this for fun and make a lot of money from it, you actually have to work backwards. And so by that I mean you look at where you want to end up, right? Let's just say like ending up, let's say I make $1,000 a day. Woohoo! Like on average, right? I have to see myself in my mind's eye as if that was reality. And it sounds weird and backwards, and it is. But if you think about it, anything you've gotten in your life, new car, new house, job, whatever, you pictured it in your mind's eye before you got it, right? Like everything is created up here first. And you can do that with trading. You can do that with, romance partner. You can do it with money. You can do it with the home, whatever. Like, if anybody was proof, I could give you guys tons of stories of doing this. Trading, I think what I've come to realize is I put myself in that box for so long of like, gotta trade small and gotta stay beginner and gotta learn, and that it put constraints on me because I couldn't even see where I wanted to go. So focused on like, oh, this is what is right now, and oh, dang it, I lost a couple bucks today. But switching your mindset to, okay, well, what would it actually be like? What if like I was actually making like $1,000 a day on average? What changes in your life by thinking that way? A lot of things. Because even though you're not physically seeing the money in the bank just yet, or in your trading account, you then actually start to change how you think and what you do. So how you think is going to be the first thing. Because all of a sudden you're going to go from, I'm struggling, it's hard, yada, yada, to what would it be like? Oh, let's picture this. Well, Amy is going to go be putting some extra money into savings so she can buy herself a brand new freaking car. Yeah, because I've been driving used cars all my life. The only time I ever had a new car was a company car. And it was great. But I didn't go to the dealership and buy it. I think one of the best things you can do for yourself, and especially if you start thinking at a different level, go and treat yourself, okay? Too many times we're like limiting the fun things in our life because people say, oh, don't buy new because as soon as you drive it off the lot, it depreciates. Well, are you going to sell it tomorrow? No. Everything depreciates. Whether you bought it used or whether you bought it new, don't matter, right? So one of the things I'd be doing, taking that 30 grand a month, taking a portion, put it in the stock market, invest. The other thing I'd be doing, putting in a savings account so I can go buy myself whatever I want, brand new Escalade, whatever. But I start thinking differently. And guess what? When a trade presents itself and I see opportunity, I'm going to trade different because I'm thinking, how would I be trading if I was going for $1,000 a day, right? So this is just some of the stuff I've been working on. Eric says, when you use chat, what are the parameters you're giving and would you share that? Yeah, so by the way, guys, ChatGPT is the freaking bomb. Eric put in a question here of what he asked for chat. Yeah, it's similar to your question, Eric. So when I use ChatGPT to, like, for example, today find this random stock to take a trade on, had never even heard of Toast before today. I just was like, hey, find me 10 stocks that look like they're going to move intraday, and tell me if I want to buy on a dip, entry, take profit level, and a stop loss level. And it'll give you sometimes S1, S2, S3, support 1, 2, 3, or, take profit levels. And, just, you kind of have to use your discernment. Like, don't be like, oh, ChatGPT lost me money, right? Like you still have to use your own brain here. But it's really helpful. Hey, Johnny. Yeah, case you buy assets and let them pay for the liabilities. Exactly. Oh, yeah. Like, for me, investing is, like, number one right now in terms of assets. Like, focus on investing. And one of the things I kick myself for is getting impatient with that, because actual history of me investing in, like, a 401k and then switching to my IRA 10 years ago is proven to me it's been a lot easier to grow things, but don't have access to them, right? Like, I can't get in there, can't take anything out, or at least there's a penalty for it. Not to say I haven't, but it definitely is better sometimes for me just leave it alone, let it grow. Only 199. What's that, Lex? Power here. Electricity? 199. AV, not everyone can become a profitable trader. Doesn't matter how much you visualize. Well, why is that, AV? Is it because you said that? Is it because you believed it? I think if you don't, okay, if you don't become profitable, when is the end to that? What if you never gave up? Like, then there's no end to that. There's a quote I heard from my mentor, and he's like, if it doesn't look good right now, like, don't worry, everything will work out fine. And if it hasn't worked out fine, it's not the end. like we're not at the end here. So I think unless you quit, then who's to say, right? Mike says, remember this, right now was once your future. You cannot change the past, but the future is yours to change. Exactly. What's up, Johnny Trades? Eric Wilson, what's going on? ChatGPT is awesome. Oh, okay. So AV says worked for the brokerage. Okay, well, yeah. Well, case in point, like, those people gave up, right? Like, they sucked. They didn't go past the next learning level where you suck a little less and then you suck a little less, and they just gave up, right? So yeah, on the whole, if you looked at all the traders that open trading accounts, I'm sure there's, golly, in the US alone, there's millions, I'm sure, that opened, stayed for a month or two, traded, lost money, left, and then that scenario, yeah, it looks like they're not profitable because they gave up. Like, they quit. Janice says, I'd love to know the psychology behind me losing my mind because I lost $100 on a day trade. But if I lose $100 on long-term stocks in a day, I can shrug my shoulders and say, oh, well. Yeah, that is a fantastic topic, Janice. I have experienced the exact same thing. In fact, I could be down hundreds of dollars. And I think it's a perspective of time where if you're day trading, okay, I'm going to close out all positions by the end of the day, right? So I got to be in profit or I got to take a loss. I got to do one or the other. There's a decision to be made versus a long-term investment where you don't have to make that decision right now. You can sit in unrealized losses or unrealized gains and not have to worry about it. And I think also for certain stocks, like when I first started investing and actually putting a hands on it, I opened a small account, cash account, and I put like, I think $2,000, $2,500 in it. And I slowly bought stocks, after doing research. And I was more of a fundamentals investor back then. This was like 2012. And I remember just thinking, I'm in it for the long haul. Like, I'm going to hold these stocks for like 5 or 10 years. So there was no fear about them going up or down. It was just like, well, I'm pretty confident over time I'm going to win, And I think if you had that same level of confidence in day trades, maybe then, like, it would work out. you know, just kind of like, well, maybe I'm not in it for very long. But on the whole, it's going to work out, you know, and just having that sort of peace of mind that either it's a numbers game by taking X amount of trades on average, you win X amount, or you just start to get really good at your entries and your exits and just following, you know, that system. But I also think making that decision, you know, it's like, well, I'm not going to be bothered, right? And another thing is too, Janice, like, can you lose $100 every day day trading versus the you know, long term? The long term might be $100 over a week or a month or something, but when you're day trading, it's back to back sometimes. Yeah, 1K a day. Heck yeah, Robert. Rodney says, what time frame do you trade on? I trade on 3 different time frames: 5 minute, 1 minute, and a 10-second. I use the 1 minute chart primarily to find my stock, find what looks good once I see it on the scanners. And then, excuse me, I use the 5 minute to kind of see the overall trend, just to make sure, okay, yeah, the 1 minute looks good, but what is the last 5 minutes? Is it red or green? And then I use a 10-second to actually figure out where my entry would be, which is usually based on where does this momentum stock, like moving up quickly, where do I think if I got in now, I would get stopped out? So let's say the stock's surging and it just hit $4 and it's going up to $4.50. Where do I think I would get stopped as it's on its way to $4.50? Sometimes it's about 50% retracement. So like $4.25, right? So I might try to get in at like $4.20, $4.25, and I use the 10-second chart to verify that that looks like a minor pullback area. You know, either it's just printed a 10-second candle that shows me that, or there's something kind of in there that looks like, yeah, this is a micro pullback right in here. You know, then that's kind of what I use the 10-second. Thank you guys for all the birthday wishes. I've been on for a little over an hour. I'm probably going to jump off now and go eat some cake. I have this giant birthday cake. If you guys follow me on Instagram, I also posted it in the Trading Tribe. I showed you this beautiful looking cake. My Instagram is @AmyNicholas724 if you want to follow me there. But yeah, guys, that's all I got for you. Feel free to subscribe. Come back for future videos. There's plenty of stuff to watch on this channel. Learn from my mistakes. We're in it to win it. We're not beginner struggling traders anymore. We are seeing ourselves in a better light and talking about it that way. In it to win it, guys. Also, all the links, by the way, my day trading resources and how to join my Telegram group, which is free, they're on other videos. I'll add them later to this video so you have it as well. But you guys take care. Thank you for all the birthday wishes, and I'll see you guys on the next one.